Hey everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of my Lightseekers review series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Wave 1 Heroes and Weapons. By far the biggest thing that PlayFusion and Tomy have been presenting as a component to their game is their Bluetooth-linked action figures, which can light up, chime in, let you switch weapons, and unlock some additional content. And honestly, they're probably the Lightseekers product you should purchase last. Yep. I'll get into the details regarding that sentiment in the final video where I talk about how the in-game interactions work with the outside products. For now, this video is all about the toys, what they are, how they work, and what they do. I'll get to the juicy bits in due time. In our first wave, we get 2 hero starter sets featuring Jax and Kora, 2 slashing weapons, and 2 jetpacks. Later waves will include all of these and additional elements along with more types of equipment, specifically 2-handed weapons and shields. Every toy comes with 1 or more cards that can both be scanned into the mobile game and used in the TCG, including some unique characters and the only item cards so far that have special abilities. While it is a little smarmy to paywall some important cards within the toys, at least they don't seem to be the kind you will ever need more than 1 of. Beginning with the Lightseeker starter packs, which retail for $70, each starter pack includes 1 Lightseeker action figure, 1 weapon, 1 fusion core, and a USB charger. It also comes with several cards, a tribute card, exclusive cards for the hero and their weapon, and 3 uncommon combo cards, which can still be found in booster packs, but at least aren't in any of the starter decks. Since you need to scan some combos to get the late game rolling, it can get you a bit of a decent start. So let's take a look at the Kora figure. I know I've already done a video that's kind of about the Kora figure, but why not once again for posterity's sake now that I understand it a little bit better. Kora is a creature known as a Mari, which is a sort of amphibious fish-like creature. As you can tell, her large head kind of resembles a fish with all these fins on it. And it has 10 fins on it, which I actually missed these 2 in the back the last time I talked about it. Very nice sculpting going on these fins, a lot of detail to it. On the face, she has a very large face. She has kind of some various spines all over the place. Very, very fish-like. It's like a fish planted on top of a body. We have some large eyes. We have this sort of G shape here, I think is actually supposed to be the mark of the Colossi. I'm seeing it in like quest indicators and stuff like that, and I think that's like the brand associated with the Lightseekers. Got some eyebrows here, and these large eye shapes, unique so far for the Mari species. There are other Mari that you see in like the card game, but you see like these protruding sort of eyelashes here. That's something that is so far unique to Kora. One thing about Kora is that all of her equipment kind of looks like things that are like salvaged from nature. Like you have this kind of tentacle she wears on her side here. I'm not sure what that is, but it lights up along with the starfish. Her crest lights up as well. Kind of indicates helmet, armor, and pants, what kind of light stones and abilities are equipped onto them. We have a dark blue shirt here. We have some, what looks like scrap leather holding that all together. We have a net and some seaweed on a loincloth, along with around her ankles. And on the back, we have a repurposed turtle shell. This isn't her actual shell. I'm pretty positive on that based on how it's attached here. And we have some more netting back here on her outfit, and that'll actually transfer to both of her weapons, which are basically critters on a stick. It's actually a little funny how that works. She's bearing her midriff here. I've taken a look at other Mari, and this is actually not a shirt. This is actually her stomach right there. Scandalous. And her proportions are actually kind of funny. She's got these big ol' hands and these tiny little feet, and there you can see how the shell connects on as a backpack. You can see a seam here, but that's because that's what pops out in order to allow her to equip her fusion core. She has some very, very basic articulation. She's only articulate at the hip, which I guess is acceptable since she has such small and awkward legs. She can turn her head, and she has some decent amount of movement on her arms. No bending, however. This is largely to house the equipment needed in order to get the weapons going. All in all, not a bad figure. She is a little bit funny next to Jax, since I imagine she's actually supposed to be a whole lot smaller than Jax in that regard, but pretty solid figure, pretty fun. Probably better put on display. Doesn't really have much flexibility to it, and a little tail in the back there. I don't know if I really pointed that out before. Kora's card is fairly straightforward. Her starting health is a bit lower than normal at just 28, but her passive ability is that she does 1 damage to an opponent whenever you are healed for 3 or more. So she'd be in a deck full of cards like Heroic Starfish or Delivery Crab, which both heal you for 3 and allow you to do that extra ping of damage. And with all of that focus, she'll make up for that in no time. She is also water superior, just like she is in the game. And here is Jax the Tyrax. He's a new figure that I haven't gone over before. This one was not a Kickstarter award. This one was actually provided to me by PlayFusion. And Jax is a tech element character, meaning he has access to time, explosives, and machines. You can see a lot of that machine influence on his pauldron and on his glove here. I don't know, does Tyrax play Battle Claw? He might. But I find it kind of funny that they call him a Tyrax, because this big thing on the back of his head here is something you'd see on a Styracosaurus. Maybe that's where the Irax part of it comes from. But he's a lizard man, kind of similar to like the Mepedians from Chaotic, or any kind of lizard man you think of, only they kind of took an interesting approach in that they made him very technology-based. He is a very nice bright orange, makes him pop nicely against this blue background I like to use. And he is covered in a lot of scale texture, like on the legs here and on his arms. There's a lot of scale texture. Hopefully you guys are seeing that with the light I've been using. He actually has digitigrade legs, which makes him a bit of a pain to stand up. And digitigrade means that he stands on his digits, in this case his toes. So his heel would technically be back here where this large bone growth is, although he has something down here that acts as sort of a substitute heel as well. And this tail here, the tail I actually had to attach. It actually kind of came in the side of the box, and you had to attach it here, which has this this kind of club attachment onto it. Or actually, I think that's supposed to be a wrench. That's actually kind of funny, because he's supposed to be like a tech head, right? Like he's even got he's got this fancy bracer gear on here. He has the fancy shoulder pad, which I believe this actually also lights up, as do the goggles on the top of his head. And of course we have the gauntlet, which has the it has a clock on it, I guess, to indicate time. He has a very small loincloth, although I don't know if lizards really need loincloths. And the other light, which I think is, ironically enough, the light for his pants, is this bottle here that attaches to his belt. I mean, it looks kind of cool right now. It's kind of a clear bottle. I don't know, I guess it's supposed to, like, contain something explosive. There's a fair amount of pop. The blue on the loincloth in particular really pops against his bright orange, as does the slight bluish tint they have given a lot of his equipment. You have also got some stripes here. Like with Kora, he flexes at the head and at the arm and the shoulder, although this arm suffers a little bit because of the shoulder pad, you know, the single shoulder pad done in that Liefeldian fashion there. Let's see if I can get him to do his pose when he gives us a combo in the game. Like when you put the card up, he stands up in that sort of combo pose. So, not the most terribly flexible. Kora, when it came to her legs, kind of had the excuse that they were way too tiny to add posability. I don't know if Tyrax benefits, if Jax here benefits from the same excuse. Although I guess it is a little bit difficult to get him standing. You could kind of see him wobbling as I was moving around. You can kind of mash the joints around to get him to fit, but that's maybe something they want to deal with. Oh, he's actually also got like some little vials of something hidden under that arm. That's kind of cool. Of course, you have some braces, which are some wraps, which are conveniently used on the joints in order to help cover them up. So that's a look at Jax. He also has the sockets to hold the weapons. And speaking of the weapons, Jax's card, on the other hand, is explosive superior. So I guess he likes blowing things up a bit more, despite all the technology he likes to talk about when he's connected to the game. But 30 health, which is roughly par for the course, and his ability is that he can ditch a buff to deal 3 damage to an opponent, which is very nice, because in a lot of cases when a buff reaches its final turn, it does its action, and then it's just kind of sitting there not really doing much of anything. And I guess the idea is that Jax is just kind of taking that used up buff and chucking it at his opponent. That's pretty useful. In each figure's hand, there is a hard point onto which you can attach a weapon, with each Lightseeker being able to hold 2 weapons at a time.
This'll make me invincible. Almost.
They connect solidly with a clasp that is released with a little latch on the wrist, meaning that the weapons will stay in place as the character is moved around. Starting off, we have the Nitro Hammer. This is the tech weapon that comes with Jax. It is a bashing weapon, and it is currently the only bashing weapon available. There will be some more bashing weapons in further sets, like the Storm bashing weapon is a two-handed weapon, which is why it's not out yet. Anyway, it is a tech elemental thing, and it's a rocket hammer. It's kind of like the one that King DDD uses in Super Smash Bros. And as a tech piece, it has lots of shiny metal, lots of pieces. It, of course, has the solid metal shaft, but at the same time, there's a touch of recklessness to its design. It's a little bit roughshod, you can see, with the straps that are barely holding this thing together and the sort of twisted metal that makes up the exhaust port for the flames. There are lights on the front. The hammer on the front piece has the symbol of the Lightseekers on it, the Colossi magic symbol. It also has the flame in the back and I guess this is another exhaust on the top. All three of these light up, and because of just how large the bulb is on here, when Jax attacks with it, it actually gives a really tremendous burst of light, so it's quite something to behold. Now, Nitro Hammer, the card, it is a one-cost item that offers basic access to explosives. Most of the vanilla cards that come in the booster packs offer superior, but instead it has the attack ability where you do 3 damage but take 1 damage yourself, which reflects Explosive's reckless nature. Up next we have Kora's weapon, the Aquadart Crab. It's a hermit crab on a stick. It is the only shooting weapon available, only in the Kora starter pack, and it lights up along the spines and the claws. You can see the claws of the little crab sticking out there, and this kind of resembles a lot of the Mari and Storm equipment, is that it is all kind of improvised from natural elements, although I find it kind of funny that we have Jax is like, I have my special high-tech hammer, and Kora is all like, I have a hermit crab on a stick. And something I don't think I noticed before is that there's also like a smaller shell on the end here, and this part in the middle here is maybe metal, maybe some kind of repurposed seaweed or something. Really kind of funny. Goes along with how the Mari are sort of the funny bunch out of here. The Aquadart Crab is a one-cost item that offers basic access to the water element and has an attack ability that deals 2 damage, and you can heal yourself for 1 if you have less than 20 health. So that represents water as the healing element, and it also gives you a small point heal if you need it. Up next we have the Spin Blade 3000. This is the first of our booster pack weapons. This is one that you can buy individually. It is a slashing weapon. Both slashing weapons have been made available at this point. This is the mechanical weapon, as you can see by the fact that it attacks with a gigantic pair of light-up gears, as well as a light-up gauge on the top. It also has a lot of nice, very steampunk vibes with all these pipes all over it, and while it does have some straps on it, it's not as clearly roughshod as with the Nitro Hammer. It's a very interesting design. It probably would not work very well as a sword, because assuming the blades both go inwards, you would get latched onto something and it probably wouldn't come off. But, you know, that's kind of what these sorts of steampunky designs are for. They're designed to be, like, really fun and full of possibility. The Spin Blade 3000 card is a size 1 that gives access to basic mechanical element, and has the attack ability that is 2 damage and increases by 1 if you are holding fewer than 3 cards. All in all, a very nice ability, and probably the best card to give you access to tech. And for our Storm slashing weapon, we have the Electro Eel. It's an electric eel on a stick. Brilliant. Although, judging by the fact that its tail is makes up the blade, and the tail blade is what lights up here, you gotta wonder, how on earth do you catch something that is both an electric eel and is made of an entirely razor-sharp body? How do you even catch this thing in order to mount it onto the blade? Although, the head here looks a little bit less genuine, so maybe this is some kind of weapon made with other features, but I kind of like to think that basically all Mari weaponry is taking various creatures out of the water and mounting them onto sticks. The Electro Eels card is a size 1 item that gives you basic access to the electricity element, and has an attack ability that does 2 damage. Increase this by 1 if you've played a lightning card or used a lightning ability this turn. So this would require an electric superior hero in order to make its ability work, but I thought you were only limited to 1 ability per turn. That card text is a little confusing. The fusion core is where all of the action happens. This little gizmo, which attaches into the back of the Lightseeker action figure, acts as the battery, button input, and speaker of the toy, whereas the action figure stores the data and carries the lights. Now, I'm not sure which component contains the Bluetooth or the vibration function or the gyroscope, but I would like to know, because I would like to know just how much of that $70 price tag this fusion core eats up. Because when they do finally release some of the heroes a la carte with this thing missing, that's going to tell us just how much of the price drops. And if all the Lightseeker character is a figure that contains some flash memory and some lights, you know, that's actually pretty cheap. See also Skylanders. The fusion core is what activates the electronic features of the action figure. Each Lightseeker has a set of lights on their head, upper body, and lower body, which phase between different colors while the figure is not connected to a game. For Kora, the lights are on her crest, starfish, and hip tentacle, and for Jax, they're on his goggles, shoulder pauldron, and a bottle. I didn't say it made sense. The weapons also light up when attached to the figure while it's turned on. The fusion core also has 2 buttons, and each one corresponds to one of the Lightseeker's hands. When the button is pressed, the weapon will let loose a burst of lighting effects while the fusion core gives some battle sounds along with some force feedback. If the button pressed is instead connected to an empty hand, the Lightseeker will spout a one-liner instead.
It's time for action.
In addition to the button presses, the figures know when they are given a new item and if they are held upside down or shaken.
Hey, my fins are gonna fall out.
The fusion core is also necessary to attach the jetpacks, which go on surprisingly flush to the figure. The jetpacks seem to be more geared towards the game as far as features are concerned, but they do nicely light up and will respond to input. And here we have the Skyrider. It is the Storm jetpack, and it is probably the largest thing I have seen so far with this massive wingspan. I guess, I mean, a lot of them, it's another thing that's just a creature, you know? You got the eyeballs, you have the Mark of the Colossi, you have the wings. They're just strapping a critter onto their back and flying with it. Although, it looks like kind of a weird cross between a fish and a bug. Kind of bug-like in that it has the 4 wings here, but it's also kind of fish-like in that it has all the spots and things like that. It's yet another in the series of amusing items. And the pink and the blue, these blue actually kind of light up a dark blue, the wings, when you attach them. And the pink is designed to match Kora's aesthetic. The Skyrider card is a size 1 item that has the wind element on it, and it actually has 2 abilities. Both of them require you to discard a card, and you can either use it to heal yourself for 4 damage or deal 4 damage, which I guess would be kind of nice if you have a crackling beast or a dancing flutterer in your hand that isn't going to do its maximum damage. You can get a little bit more damage out of it, but I'm not sure how good a one this is. The 2-handed weapon for Storm, the smashing weapon, is not only wind element, but it also allows you to drop 2 cards from your hand to wreck any one buff on the field. So I think that might be a bit better to get access, and it gives superior wind as well. And finally, the Flynamo. This is the tech jetpack, and as you can see, it's just as steampunky as all the rest of them, covered in all the copper and the metal and the exhaust port over here, the gauges and the clock, because this is the time element item. And these rocket booster jets down here, these are actually like energy crystals, if the card is to be believed. These are what light up. They light up a nice bright orange. The jetpacks actually don't change color, and I'm thinking that's because you cannot equip light stones to them. I don't even know if they gain levels. I'm going to be messing around with them in the game a little bit after this, and we will see soon about that. But another thing about these jetpacks is that they're actually surprisingly squat and flush. They have barely any room in the back for them, and they're actually kind of concave, so they don't like stick out awkwardly on the fusion core, which is kind of interesting. The Flynamo card is a tech element item, size 1, that has the defend ability, 1 healing if you have less than 20 health, and gain 1 additional action without any stat restrictions. So the Flynamo is basically you get to take a free action to heal yourself for 1. I can see this having some use in decks like the nature deck. This thing would be a beast in a nature deck because so many of the abilities in the nature deck are activated by heals, and once you drop down to 20, if you get a free heal every turn, that is going to do so much amazing stuff. The figures are average as far as toys go. Now, don't get me wrong, their modeling is incredibly spot on and creative, and I don't think I've seen a toy that uses an equipment method quite like it, and all of the neat and flashy parts are really cool, but it does run up against that high price tag due to it needing to both help pay and maintain a video game, as well as all of its fancy inner workings that come into play when it's connected to said game, which I will get to. It also has some minor quality issues, as the figures aren't all that flexible and sometimes can show gaps in the seams when the joints are forced. But even on its own, the use of the lights and the weapon recognition is a very cool idea, and if it were stripped down to its bare essentials without all of the video game connectivity, it could be downright inspired. The question really is how much these features, as well as its connectivity to the video game, can make up for that $70 initial price tag. I have on several occasions referred to these characters as premium items, in that they're actually fairly expensive and maybe not an ideal first purchase. In order to fully equip a character, you not only have to buy the $70 starter pack, but you also have to buy the jetpack and a weapon, which are $15 each for a cool $100, although I guess there are plenty of folks who will drop a cool $100 on a mobile game. I guess you're meant to turn your thinking a little bit and imagine that the Lightseeker itself is more like the portal of power, and the weapons, which cost much less at $15 a pop, are supposed to be the equivalents of our Skylander figures. And anybody who can wield Tree Rex as a weapon earns my respect. In that regard, though, I kind of wish that they had delivered a bigger variety of weapons in their initial offering. Instead, we got some more Storm and Tech weapons to go with our Storm and Tech heroes. It doesn't really let us embrace the variety that the back of the boxes promise. Thought of in that regard, where one character is a portal to tons of cool equipment, makes it a bit easier to rationalize the prices. The fact that Lightseekers seems to have crossed this threshold first, while others like Jumo seem to have fallen off the face of the earth, will make a good test of this business model. Ubisoft seems to have the same idea with their new game that they revealed at E3 with building spaceships, and it will be interesting to see how the two fare against one another. There is, of course, still the argument of pragmatism, as these figures will have to compete with the much cheaper Toys to Life and action figures on the market, and it will be interesting to see how much the price will drop when it comes to the hero figures that hit shelves a la carte. If they can be $30 or less, then it might inspire some more people to try picking up some of the action figures than maybe a weapon here or there before finally making the jump onto a fusion core. So, that's a look at the Lightseekers toys. An interesting concept, and we'll have to see where it goes from there as more products come out. But next time, we will be dealing with the first thing that PlayFusion put out in regard to Lightseekers, the Lightseekers trading card game. Until next time, this is Kohdok signing off.